Recording. Welcome everyone to our Tuesday night My Self-Reliance chat. So good to be with you all. We have a full room tonight and I have special guests on with me. My name's Kelly Wilkins and I have the beautiful Ruth joining us, and also Hardy from the Freedom Markets in Central West near Bathurst. So I've invited them both on tonight to share with us what they've been doing. I've been following them a little while on Telegram with their conversations and looking at their gorgeous markets that they've started. So I've asked them to come on and share with us what's happening, because as part of the whole self-reliance movement, it's really whatever we can do to be self-sufficient, self-sustainable, and resilient. So getting out of the system is what it's all about. You know, when we don't have to rely on anyone else for our income and food and, you know, for our needs, then we have more freedom. So I love that as part of these markets, because I've been promoting for a long while, you know, people in the cities get together in the communities and do some community projects and, you know, grow in your own backyard produce so that, you know, come the day you can't go to the shops, that you've got food security, and, you know, food is everything, right? So I want to open it up to, I'll start with Ruth, because Ruth was actually the co-creator of the Freedom Markets, and Hardy is one of the people who actually sells his wares at the markets. Is that the right, can I say it that way?
Yes.
So we're going to come back to Hardy, and I've got some questions for Hardy. So I'll start with Ruth. Ruth, tell us how long have you been running these markets now?
Oh, ages, since January.
I love it. So, yeah. So, tell us, how did you get started?
Okay, well, towards the end of last year, actually, I was collaborating with a couple of other local people, and we were working towards having some kind of marketplace or swap meet or something, we did it a couple of times on one of their properties, and it was great, it was wonderful, but we hadn't really refined it, and Julianne joined us, and then the other two decided it was too much work and they dropped back. So it was then Julianne and I, and over the Christmas break, I happened to see something on Telegram. It was in New Zealand, actually, and they have freedom markets in New Zealand. On private property, and it looked amazing. It looked absolutely amazing, and I thought, oh, this is what we've got to do. This is it. So Julianne agreed, and we said, okay, let's do it. Yeah, let's do it. When? How about the last weekend in January? Okay. Where? You've got 300 acres, Julianne, haven't you? So that was really how it started, and she managed to sweet talk her husband, and we just, I started the page on Telegram, the Freedom Markets Central West, and we called it that rather than just Bathurst, because the idea is that the entire Central West will have freedom markets, and not just that, but Australia-wide eventually. And there's been a huge amount of interest, and so I started the page, and I pushed it out to groups that I belong to around Central West, and it went from there really. And I think that what attracted a lot of people, stall holders in particular, was that there's no charge. Okay, so they don't have to pay for a stall, and that is obviously very attractive. And you know, the whole idea behind it really is that it's by the community and it's for the community. So we said, you know, set up a stall, or just bring your car and open the boot and sell out of the boot, like a car boot sale. And that's really how it started. So it's we have got one or two what I call hardcore market stall holders, who that's how they make their living, by going to the markets. But for the most part, it's you and I, you know. Oh, I've got a glut of tomatoes, so I'll take them to. Oh, I don't want all these chickens. I'm going to take some of the chickens along and see if anybody wants them. You know, people bring in buckets of spinach that they cut that morning. We have people who homemade cakes and biscuits, and we have people who do forest things, climbing trees and tying rope knots, and weaving with willow. We have quite a lot of natural therapies there as well, along with organic fruit and vegetables. We had organic cheese at the market this last weekend, and it's just going to grow. It was the first market was really good. It was beyond all expectations. I think Hardy was counting how many people we had, and it was incredible. And then last weekend was the second market, and that wasn't so good, but we only realized afterwards that the Bathurst Fun Fair thing was on last weekend. So I think a lot of families went to that, were drawn to that rather than to the market. But that's okay, you know. It is what it is. It probably disappointing for some of the stall holders, because they did so well the first market. But I mean, I used to attend markets myself when I lived in Victoria, as a stall holder, and you never know. Some weeks are really, really busy, and the next week it's dead.
I've got some photos here, so let me bring up some photos so that people can get a bit of an idea what we're talking about here. And we will put in the link to the let me just make that full size, to the Telegram page, so that people can follow on and get an idea. But look at these beautiful jars of honey, and you've got an entertainer there.
Yeah, we had live music this time round, which was great, and he was just, you know, he basking. I said, put your hat out. Well, he put his guitar case out, I think, and you know, whatever people throw your way is yours to keep. It's fine.
Presumably they bring their own marquee.
They have to, because look, it's free. We don't provide anything. If they want a table, they bring it. If they want a chair, they bring it. They want a marquee, they bring it. Yeah.
It's like a brilliant property to have it on too. So here you got some other tables. Looks, people know how to present, don't they? They're just absolutely gorgeous. And then look, even this pottery class.
Oh, Yes, we have a potter in Bathurst, and she has a non-electric wheel, you know, the one with the treadle that you push backwards and forwards, and so she's been able to offer to some of the children some fun, which is really popular, really popular.
So beautiful community spirit. What do you think some of the surprising things that have come out of the markets?
Surprising things. Well, I think the most surprising thing is how popular it already is, and even for people who haven't been able to make it yet, you know, they can't wait to get there. They want to be part of the community, and I'm surprised at how fast that's taken off. Really.
Where's the furthest do you think people are coming from to get there?
I know we've had people from Mudgee, and I think we've had people from the Blue Mountains. Hardy, do you know where people have been coming from?
There were a few from Orange and further west. I think some smaller village towards, is it Condobolin? Mudgee, the other side of Mudgee, off the 250 or so people we had at the first market. I tried to ask everyone where they're from and where they found out about the market, and they said 95% Telegram. So that supports what Ruth was saying, is it's very effective that way. 3% probably through Facebook. There was one post somewhere, and the other couple of percent was word of mouth. But I would have thought sort of up to 100, 150 Ks from the location. And just by chance, a lot of people just happened to see or hear about the market, and then they joined in.
Beautiful. Tell us.
Actually, sorry, I've just remembered that this last market, we did actually have some people that came up from Newcastle, I think, Newcastle way, and they actually camped out on the property the night before. I think it was Newcastle.
That's right. Yes. They were the spies who wanted to camp and find out how we did it, Ruth. how you and Julianne kicked it off, and she joined in. Peggy, lovely lady. Yes.
And they came actually via the Freedom Cell groups.
Yeah.
Because the Freedom Cells and mutual aid groups are very interested in setting up the freedom markets as well. And because I'm a member of those groups, you know, I've been able to push it out onto those, and they cover all of New South Wales. Well, they cover the whole country really, but into the New South Wales community completely. So anybody from anywhere really is welcome, because the idea is it's not just the community in Bathurst, it's the community in Australia.
Yeah, lovely.
That's what it is.
So tell us, because it's on private property, is there any legal requirements or hoops that you have to worry about in the future if you haven't had to do it yet, because it's, you know, it's all on private property?
There's no intention of doing that.
Good. Okay. Yeah, lovely. So yeah, it's really just making that decision and then getting the word out there, letting people know what they need to bring, basically, and then up to them to get there.
That's right, absolutely. A couple of people have said, "Oh, you know, do I need insurance?" And the answer is no. As long as you're prepared to take responsibility for yourself. The only ones that I'm aware of that do carry insurance are the Green Heart Forest School people, because, and quite rightly so, because they are taking children up into the trees on ropes and swings and all sorts. I mean, the kids have an absolute ball, they really do, but they carry their own insurance, and that's fine, but we don't ask for any sort of insurance. We are under the radar.
Yeah, and that's perfect. And my feeling about as we step into making community events, and is that we want to step away from that old system. The fact that you have the insurance is to cover you for anything that goes wrong, except for most people are not prepared to take responsibility. They want to lug that off to somebody else to take responsibility, and that's how everything, then people have to, I have to cover myself just in case someone doesn't do the right thing. But I think when you take all that away, it comes back to self-responsibility, and that's where we need to get back to as a society. We're not looking to blame somebody else for,
Yeah, it's too easy, isn't it, to blame somebody else for your mistakes. Well, that's not acceptable. And we actually have a sign on the gate that says, if you basically, it says a lot of things, but basically it says, if you can't take responsibility for yourself, then you're not welcome.
Yeah. Oh, a great sign. I'd love you to take a picture of the sign for me, I think I love that. Let's keep promoting that, and it's the right energy to have, the right message. So yeah, it's really, really important. Okay, so I just wanted to check then, if people are thinking about doing this in their own area, of course, this year, a really great model to follow. Is there anything that people should know? Is there any mistakes that you think you're only brand new into it? Okay, and so it's really great that we're chatting with you at this stage, because this is always the hardest bit, is the getting off the ground.
Yes. I mean, it's a learning curve, and whilst I've been a stallholder in the past, I've never been a market organizer ever. I do remember hearing other organisers saying what hard work it is, and it's true. It is incredibly hard work, and you have to keep at it all the time. And I would say that if anybody's planning on doing it, you can't do it alone. You need to have at least one other person with you, working with you to do it, because it's non-stop and it is exhausting, but it's so rewarding when you get to the market and you start to walk around. The very first market, the one before last, I had a few things for sale. However, I mean, I spent so much time walking around, talking to people, talking to the other stallholders, making plans for the next one, listening to people saying, well, where's the next one? When's the next one? And all this. I think I must have made, Hardy, you took the money for me. I think it was about $27 in the end. And Hardy took the money for me because I wasn't there.
You haven't got time to be on your own stall when you're running it. Yeah.
It's almost an impossibility. It really is. I mean, you've got to do one or the other. So, but that's fine. That's okay, because it's about, the reward is about drawing this community together, and my goodness, they love it. They really love it.
And it looks gorgeous too. Look at that property and the trees. It looks absolutely beautiful.
It is a lovely place, and the other thing is that on this particular property, there's no facilities at all. So we had to hire a portaloo, and we've covered that because we say to the stallholders, if there's anything that we need to hire, like a portaloo, for instance, everybody's asked to make a donation to cover that. So although the host is not making anything out of it, then there's no charge. They are not expected to be out of pocket.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yes.
so you know, I've also said to people, you know, if you want power, if you're going to need power, then you'll have to bring your own generator because there's no power. Oh, that's fine, and nobody minds. They simply, it's yeah, great, whatever, it's fine, lovely, quite happy to do whatever. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, that is a good point about the loo, because it's, you know, there's so many things that you can do without, but not that. You need, that's important part of the day. and I suppose there's probably lots of food venues there that are, you know, food trucks or whatever. Market people.
Well, we don't have any food trucks. The first market, we had somebody who was doing bacon and egg rolls. They brought their barbecue, they brought the gas bottles all on the trailer, and they did bacon and egg rolls. And this time we had the bacon and egg rolls, and we had somebody else was doing a sausage sizzle. We still there are some ladies who are doing tea and coffee, but it's not like a food truck. It's not like a coffee one of those vans, you know.
Yeah.
It's not that. And there's a few people with selling cold drinks. But that's it really. That's all we have at the moment in the way of food. We don't really want to overdo it with too many smells of different things cooking. Somebody was threatening to do dumplings, and that would have been nice, but it didn't come off last time. Maybe it will next. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. But it's lovely that you have those offerings anyway, and different, because it really does serve the community when people offer to take on those things, and you don't have to worry about it as the host to have those things there. So that's brilliant. I might turn some time over to Hardy and get Hardy your point of view as a store holder and anything that you want to share.
Yeah, thanks. I've been in this market business for probably 30-something years, and I let it lapse for a few. I used to sell woodcraft at all sorts of markets in Sydney, Melbourne, and anywhere in between. And I came to Auburn in '81, and I found the most amazing community here. And when I came back 7 years ago, I realized that the community has changed, and of course, so did I. And the community spirit which I remembered, I didn't find, but I found it through this miraculous group at Berry Park, and I mingled with a few, and I loved the atmosphere. And I said to my wife, "How about?" And she came along too, first putting one toe in and then another. And we liked the atmosphere and the support of the people. So that's how I got involved in this inaugural market in January. And I guess due to my background, I started how many cars, and there's about 30 to 35 cars in the car park, 2 people each. So at peak, there would have been 70 people all at once. And I sort of kept a bit of a record first time around and counted about 250. We would have had 120 last time, so it reduced a little, but it's too early. And yes, were other activities on the same day, but that always happens, as Ruth rightly says. So you can't do it right for all the time. And we certainly kicked it off. We would have had 300 odd people through in two markets, without paper advertising, without radio or TV, predominantly on Telegram, which is, I think, fascinating. Talking to this lady from Newcastle, and I'm sorry I forgot her name. She said, well, we haven't got any land where we can pull this off. We are in the CBD. And I said, well, in Newcastle, if you drive back into the hills, half hour out of Newcastle, you've got plenty of farms just like the one we were on at Julianne's. And she said, yes, she hadn't opened her mind up to explore in those distances, because if you want to pull this off in the CBD anywhere, I would think there's too many regulations, too many councils, too many police, and too many sniffers who might not be supportive of the cause, and
want to put their hand out for the piece of the pie.
That's right. That's right. So if you hold a market anywhere on a council property or a public property, you have to register it. You have to show your public liability and all this other kerfuffle with it. Whereas if you hold it on a private property, that circumnavigates a lot. But the property owner, and I spoke with Julianne about that at length, need to be aware of how this works in the current legal system we all live in. I'm in favor of getting rid of the legal system and this whole control, but yeah, everyone has to weigh up what suits them. So I joined. I pulled the first market. I pulled the tarp over the side of the van, which was a little bit amateurish, but it worked. I didn't get wet, and the sun was away. I would have thought that if anyone wants to pull it off, sharing the location is probably a strength rather than a weakness. First, I thought it should always be at the same location so that stall holders and people know where to go. But I've changed my mind, because if you rotate the stall holders, it becomes unpredictable. And because we appeal to a group of awake people, I don't think that the majority of our supporters and customers would work in any way to hinder the setup rather than support it. Yes, that's just
it's a very good point.
A couple of points there. And elaborating on Ruth's point, the market is free, which is a very appealing factor to many, because having done markets at the foreshore towards the Opera House, I would have spent upwards of $250 to $350 for a Sunday, and that comes straight out of profit. So you have to sell $700 at the opera market to even break even, let alone cover any cost. Whereas at Rockley Mount, it was whatever I sell was my profit. And Ruth sold $27, whatever it was. As she said, she was flat out talking to everyone, so I had to collect the money for her. And sad that you couldn't make it second time around, Ruth, but next time, if that happens again and you're hindered, I'm happy to put your wares out on my table, and rest assured, I will channel the funds towards you. But the issue is that
that's community spirit, isn't it? Love that.
Yes, yes, and that's what's different with this market. I think there's a few church ladies from Bathurst who come and supply coffee and tea and biscuits, and they struggled with their tent. So somebody grabs and somebody helps and somebody pushes, and that type of community support is what makes this market unique. And I would hope that I experienced it in the 1980s when I came to Oberon, and I found it again through the Berry group, of which Ruth is also a member. And I would think that this community spirit is there in most towns. But the question is, we have to find it again and foster it and nurture it, because in the last 30 years, me as example, I've worked and, buy a house and get married and have kids and all that sort of thing you do in life. And a lot of the stuff then tends to drop away. So happy to answer any questions, but that's sort of what jumps to mind.
Yeah, thank you, Hardy. You just brought up so many good points there, and that community spirit is hidden when you're like, focused on the things that you have to do in life, right? And ticking the boxes and making the money and the kids and all of that kind of thing. And now, we've been able to strip all that back and go, okay, what's really important? And that connection is really important. I see that Sue has her hand up. Go ahead, Sue. You want to ask a question or make a comment?
Yeah, I just want to say, Hardy, that was hilarious what you said about us who are now, well, I've always been on the fringe, but we can turn up anywhere and it's fine. It doesn't have to be in the same place. I thought, well, yeah, we are flexible like that. We have to be now. We've got to build a new society. And that's how it is. We just got to move. We just got to be where it's at. So yeah, a great comment. I had just about my microphone was turned off because I just laughed out loud at that one. That's all I want to say at the moment.
And so do you mean as well, like going from property to property with the markets as well? And I think that's very clever point, because not only are you not putting the burden on the one host, but also because if the powers that be decided to catch up with the markets, well, they'd never know we were going to show up next, right? So
good point, of course.
Yeah. And also it makes it more advantageous for people who are coming from whatever distances.
That's right. It'll suit some people sometimes and some people other times. So you get good variety.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, what we do is we say what area it's going to be in as soon as we know. So the next market, which is set for the 13th of March, is going to be in Brewongal. But that's all anybody needs to know for the moment. It will be in Brewongal. And then probably, but the Wednesday before probably is the day that we will announce the actual address. But as long as they know where they've got to go, what area they've got to be in, they're quite happy with that. They don't need to know any more until they've packed up the car and they're ready to go.
Correct.
So we try to keep the lid on it as much as we can. And the other thing that I should say is that one thing that we've said to all the stall holders is that they have to be prepared to accept bartering or swapping. Money's fine while money's good, but there's probably going to come a time when it's not and people don't have that cash. And they are, all of them, more than happy to do that.
I love that you're setting that up, Ruth. I talk about that all the time, but here's you in action, putting that, setting that mindset up, and then when it does need to happen, and it can already happen, right? I've got a jar of honey, and you've got a bag of veggies, and what can we do here? And that's been a thing that I've kind of talked about, even for city folk, and so that's brilliant.
That's definitely the way that we're heading, isn't it? We've just got to be self-sufficient, just see what we need, whether it's money. I mean, money is only useful for turning it into stuff that we need. What else can you do with it? So
Hardy, you want to say something?
Perfectly good, yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure how it will work if we need to hire a portaloo.
Of course.
They might still want money, whether or not they'd be prepared to accept. I don't know.
No, you don't even need portaloos. You just build one of those camp toilets and things. Go ahead, Hardy.
Just in support of Ruth's comment about bartering, I've done a bit of bartering last meeting, and as a matter of background, I make jams and gave them away in the last season. I made about 300 jars, and because of my work, I deal predominantly with the elderly part of the society, and some of them are not that flush or not that well off, even physically well off. So I just gave them a jar of jam here or there or everywhere. So I got rid of most of the 300 jars I made, and I didn't sell one of them.
Wow.
Until somebody said you should try. So I tried first time in January and then again in February, and I sold a few. But I think this community spirit goes to the extent that if I see somebody who I know, I often give him 2 jars and only charge him for 1, because I gave it away last season anyway. So what's the difference? Yes, I get a few dollars off it, as long as it pays at this stage for the petrol and my little time, then that's okay. But I think this bartering and this community spirit is what makes the difference. And I can only stress that that's what's missing in our mainstream society right now. And the mainstream media doesn't want to touch have a bar of soap of that. So anyway, that's just in terms of bartering and spirit.
Oh,
I want to say, Hardy is one of the most generous people I've ever met.
Of course, can feel it.
Thanks, Ruth.
Yeah, love it. And usually you give it away and it comes back to you in so many ways.
That's right. What goes around comes around. Definitely.
Yeah,
definitely. So it's all it's the thing is it's more than a market. It's a meeting place. It's a place to relax, to have fun, to be able to unwind, to complain and whine and moan. It's a safe place for everybody to enjoy. And my next thing, I wake up in the middle of the night and I go, bing, oh, that'll be a good idea. And so my latest thing is I was thinking, I think I need to find some chess sets, because it would be great to have some tables dotted around with chess sets on them, so people can just sit there and play chess, like they do in France and Greece and outside the tobacco, and they just sit there with a cup of coffee all morning playing chess. I think I'm going to start hunting around for some chess sets. Have you got a chess set going, Hardy?
No, but I can make you one, but it would cost you, so I'm not quite sure. But listen, I've got this ex-councillor in Albion. She specializes and puts painted rocks in her garden with interesting sayings. And all you need is, for a chess set, is what's that, 48 pieces, isn't it? You need 48 rocks.
I don't even play.
Yeah,
you need 48 rocks, and paint the pawn and the king and whatever on the flat rock, and you just move that along. So easy
look at
peasy.
that. Easy. Look at that ingenuity.
Brilliant. I love it. What a great idea. You could do that with all sorts of things. You don't need chess sets, do you?
That's right. Yes.
Or maybe
I want to bring my kids. I want to, this is the kind of society that you really want to. Thanks, Carol, for coming. All right. See you next time. That you really want to introduce your kids to and have them, get into the real world and off the digital and devices and things, and introduce them to how life really works. Isn't it? Just so attractive.
And I mean, really, the whole idea, is, as you said earlier, we don't want to go into town. We don't want to go into town and have to shop. I would like to do all my shopping at the markets. I mean, I was there very, very briefly on the weekend, and I got my bread, I got cheese, I got vegetables, and we have also got a botanical pharmacist, and I got the medications that I wanted, and that, yeah, that was it. I was just thinking to myself that on the morning, oh, I'm going to have to go and get some bread. And to my delight, I saw that one of the homemade cake people had actually made bread and brought it to market. Oh, great. I didn't need to go to the shops.
Amazing, amazing. That's what you want. And so, wow, I wonder if anyone who is listening to the recording or watching today has been inspired. I know I've been inspired immensely. I can't wait to come, but also can't wait to see this kick off in other areas as well. So, you know, we have people who are watching from Victoria and from Queensland and WA. So if anyone has any, you know, knows of any markets that are happening, freedom markets that are happening in any other parts of Australia, love to hear about that as well, and share the vibe and share the love. So has anyone got any questions before we wrap up and I press stop on the recording? Anyone want to have anything to share or can say? You can just jump off mute.
Oh, well, I've really, sorry, I was going to say I've really enjoyed listening to this. I might be the only Queenslander here perhaps, but yeah, we need certainly something up here. And Ruth, it does sound like a lot of work, but I don't think I could do it. But I might try to inspire someone else.
Well, you might be if you found somebody to do it with.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah. I'll certainly give it some thought. But of course, a property, you know, a place to do it here in Brisbane is maybe a bit problematic.
Yeah, needs to be a bit more off into the country. But you know, this is the whole point, right? Because as we connect with people on Telegram, this is where you're going to find your people. This is where you're going to find you know, partnerships and community. And you know, you might have an idea and someone else might have the property, just like Ruth and Julianne, and so you never know where it can go. And don't ever be afraid of the idea when it pops into your mind, because it might just be inspired. And if you open your mouth and ask, then you know, you never know where it could lead. So I was similar. I had an idea that I wanted to learn permaculture. So I found a man who was an expert, and it happened to be a very good friend of my uncle's. And you know, the universe has a way of bringing to you what you need and what you want, and if you put it out there. So we have a permaculture or two coming up, one in March, and that's full, and one in April. So if you want to take a look at that, you can jump onto the myselfreliance.com.au website, and you can register there. We also have Atta, who's on tonight, and for anyone who's in the Hills area, she is running a canning and dehydrating class on the 26th of March. And funny enough, it's going to be at my place. I'm throwing myself a canning birthday party this year. So, and then we have some other events coming up throughout the year, which stay tuned to the website because they'll all be posted on there. And Ruth, you know, we might even in our community section on the website be able to pop some of your link there so that people can find you easily, and maybe in our channel as well. So would that be all right?
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you very much. And you know, I think the thing to remember for everybody who thinks, oh, well, you know, I live in the middle of a city and there's no way we could do it. Just think to yourself, how far would you be prepared to go to a market that you felt was the kind of market that you wanted? Would you go out for the day, for instance? Would you be prepared to travel for a couple of hours to get there, have lunch, you know, spend a bit of nice time and drive slowly back home with all the goods and the good feeling that you get? And if you think of it that way, then you'll very quickly begin to realize that if you think like that, other people will think like that too. So although it might not be in the centre of Brisbane or in the centre of Sydney or Melbourne or wherever, people will be prepared to drive, have a nice day out into the countryside somewhere. So it can work. It can work.
What's the date of your next one, did you say?
Yes, it's the 13th of March.
Beautiful. 13th of March. Is that a Sunday? Beautiful.
They will always be the second weekend of the month from then on.
Right. I think I did read about that.
I mean, we can find another property. We have this one in Burrawongal for March, and these people have also offered their property for December. But we actually don't have anywhere for April, May, June, July, August, September.
So looking for another property for that one. That's all right. We'll get it out there. I'll have to Google where or DuckDuckGo where is Burrawongal.
Burrawongal, yes. There's not much. There's not much in Burrawongal.
Only about 5 houses and an orchard and farms.
So from Bathurst, is it north, south, east, or west?
South of Bathurst.
South of Bathurst. So probably again another 2 hours or 2.5 from Sydney.
Oh yeah, I mean,
whereabouts?
Yes.
Where are you, in Quakers Hill?
Yeah.
Yeah, look, it takes me 2 hours from here to Parramatta.
Okay. All right, that's a good day.
And Burrawongal would be another 30 minutes from Lithgow.
Okay. Oh, look, that's an easy drive. That's, you know, yeah, perfect. It's a beautiful day out. Lovely. Well, thank you everyone for watching. I am going to say goodbye to those who are watching the recording now, and the rest of us are going to stay on and chat a bit longer. So this is the place to be on a Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. You can jump into the room and enjoy this conversation with us. So if you're watching the recording, we'll hope to see you again next